In the north there are jagged mountains jutting out of the grey ground. In the west are harsh deserts, and off its coast are tropical islands. Welcome to India. With a landmass that is 3 million square miles large, this massive country is the second most populated in the world, with 1.38 billion people in its borders. According to multiple sources, modern humans arrived in India around 55,000 years ago, and since then the country has gone through a lot of changes. India is made up of 28 states and 8 union territories. It is a diverse place, with parts of it being extremely well developed, but there is a heavy divide in some areas. Mumbai, the second most populous city in India, and essentially its main financial centre, showcases one of these divides. In the middle of the city, on what used to be a mangrove swamp, lies Dharavi. Dharavi is essentially an informal dwelling with a population of over 1 million. By informal, I mean it is a slum of some sorts. Just look at this 2020 graphic detailing its population density. Ironically, some outside sources speculate that the economy within Dharavi could be worth $1 billion, as there are many household businesses that make textiles and pottery. Stepping outside of the cities, let's take a look at the physical geography present in India. Due to the nature of the world's most populated countries usually being absolutely massive, there's a lot to cover, so this will just be a general overview of what's around India. According to the Indian National Information Centre, nearly 22% of the country is covered by forests. A lot of this is made up by rainforests on the Andaman Islands. Conifer forests in the Himalayas. What the fuck, why is that even fucking there? As well as conifer forests in the Himalayas. There are 7 major mountain ranges within the country's borders. Some are shared like the Himalayas. India was and still is a hotspot for tectonic activity, which over time has caused these mountains to rise up from the ground. These mountains provide lots of sources for rivers. There are 8 major river systems in India, and these split off across the country, which has around 400 rivers flowing through it. The largest of these rivers is the Ganges. It also flows through the country of Bangladesh. Despite how developed parts of India are, the Ganges is massively threatened by pollution, and high levels of fecal coliform bacteria are found near the town of Varanasi. These levels are 100 times over the Indian government's limits. It's crazy that there's even a limit for this sort of thing.
Oh my god, bro. Hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on, boy. Stop playing with your goddamn.
India has a rich and diverse history. At one point in time, it was even a British territory, but I don't want to go into this, because it would mean that I need to mention it in another 50 episodes for all the other countries that we decided to pillage. 4 religions originated in India: Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, and Jainism. Some of these religions are derived from ancient Vedas, a set of texts written in Sanskrit, which was a language commonly used up to around 1000 BC. In these texts, rituals, sacrifices, meditation, and knowledge in general was discussed and helped set the foundations for the religions we know and practice today. Due to its huge size, the culture in India is so diverse that I couldn't even begin to cover it all.
I want to see your boobs. Send me. I want to see your boobs.
One thing the country is well known for is its food. Due to its sheer size, many different food and spices grow in the different soils found across the land. India helped other areas of the world, especially Europe, when it came to distributing spices. This country had spices like turmeric growing thousands of years ago, and people in 1000 BC were depicted eating bhang, which is essentially edible cannabis. Supposedly, it does not contain much THC, but it's still psychoactive. Mainly, when people think of Indian cuisine, most people think of curry. While this is understandable, a lot of curries we know today are recipes that are mixed up with different cultures. Indian cuisine is much more diverse than just curry, and it's generally considered to be one of the best global centres for food in the world. India's capital city is New Delhi, with a metro population of 28 million. Much of the modern city was planned by a British architect, however many elements of the buildings and planning are indigenous. 53 urban areas in India have a population over a million. Due to its massive size and distribution of its population, India has a lot going for it, from having the world's largest postal network to having Bollywood, essentially its own film culture known for its great use of dramatic character introductions. Jokes aside regarding Bollywood, it actually has an extensive history going back to the 1930s, and only a few films from Hindi cinema are actually full of the heavily memed slow motion physics denying shots with all scenes, as there are many different types of Hindi cinema, including Kollywood. Over time, India has been a victim of stereotyping, mostly on the internet, whether it be on Family Guy.
We made it, Brian. We're in India. Excuse me, man with no pupil? Where can we get a taxi cab around here? All right, let's do it, Stewie. Let's go find Padma. Shouldn't be hard in this dreamy land of wonder. I can already smell the enlightenment and tranquility.
Or the whole Bobs and Virginie thing, or just random out of context clips. This stereotyping occurs for most countries, but it seems very extreme towards India. A lot of people associate call centres, nuisance cold calls and phone repair shops with India, but just remember that this is a minority. India is extremely varied when it comes to natural areas. The Thar Desert, also known as the Great Indian Desert, is 200,000 kilometers squared in its size. The desert is bordered by the Great Rann of Kutch, which is a salt marsh. This is also one of the hottest areas in India, with temperatures that can reach 49.5 degrees Celsius. If you use Fahrenheit, go and look that up, because it is not my fault you have a stupid system. On the opposite side of dry heat, India also has some tropical wet areas. Lakshadweep and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands are on the eastern side of India, in the Bay of Bengal. The Andaman Islands host an island called North Sentinel Island, which is one of the most isolated areas in the world. It is inhabited by a group of people that have no contact with the outside world, and they are extremely hostile to visitors. These islands have a huge amount of rainfall and sustain lush plants throughout the year. On the subject of rainfall, let's talk about monsoon season. India is well known for its monsoons, which is a period that usually occurs each year and involves heavy rain. This can cause flash floods and mudslides in some areas. Due to the Himalayas creating a natural border in the north of India, a lot of the weather is governed by their sheer size, as they block certain winds and induce certain cloud patterns, which help form monsoons and other weather systems that India experiences. As I mentioned earlier, while the divide in India is quite apparent, it is in most large countries. Despite prejudice around the country, it is heavily advanced in certain areas. According to some sources, India is expected to have the world's 5th largest consumer market in the world. While you may think of India's products coming in the form of £30 phone screen replacements, if you go to your local supermarket, you can find all sorts of Indian branded foods in the ever-growing cultural aisles. At least, you can in the UK. Likely due to its ever-growing population, India is the world's 10th largest importer of goods, with major imports including crude oil, machinery, gems, fertiliser and chemicals. Before we end this video, let's have a look at some quick-fire facts about India. The tallest completed building in India is the World 1 building, at 280.2 metres in height. This is 30 metres lower than the Shard in London. The highest point in India is Kanchenjunga. It is also the 3rd highest point in the world. The current President of India is Ram Nath Kovind. He has held his position since 2017. This brings us to the end of the video. We have dived into the social divide that is present across India. We have had a look at the food and we've discovered poo-poo rivers. This amazing country is the only other country on the list with over 1 billion people in its population. Please remember, all jokes or stereotyping or anything that you might find offensive is not meant with any harm. I want this channel to teach people, but also to be funny and to make me some money. I will see you in the next video where we journey to America, the safest, most non-racist country in the world.